Hi, this is a very new channel. This is in fact episode number 2, and I'm kind of hoping that the YouTube algorithm allows me to actually speak with you. I'm hoping my video gets out to you. This is a very difficult moment. We are in mid-March in 2020, and yeah, I don't need to say anything more with regards to what's happening around us. But I would like to discuss two issues with you. Firstly, about what I'm seeing, and I would like to get my voice out there, and secondly, about my business. Let me start. I'm a bit worried about a sort of a growing sense of hysteria. I'm seeing a lot of statements in the comments of YouTube and in various places that seem very misplaced. In essence, I want to kindly ask you, please, I want to ask you to think rationally. Just for a moment, think rationally. Put yourself in the shoes of your government officials and try see yourself from their position as to what they have to do. The point here is that the various TV companies, the 24-hour news networks, CNN, this for them is a dream come true moment. This is what these companies are geared for. 24-hour news. People are going to be sitting at home, they want to find out what's going on, and they're going to inevitably be clicking in to watch CNN, MSNBC, Fox, etc. And these companies are going to be trying to overanalyze every tiny issue. And I'm not saying that what they're doing is wrong in the analysis that they're doing. What I'm saying is that by consistently talking about it, by consistently discussing the various issues, it starts creating more and more of a heightened sense. The worst thing is when they start actually becoming critical of various things that's going on around them. That can start creating a sense of hysteria, and we truly do not need that now. There are various government officials that I do not like, that are in charge, and there are others that I do like. But at this moment in time, I'm going to have to trust everyone. I'm going to have to trust that they are taking proper advice. I'm going to have to trust that they're going to make mistakes. But given those scenarios, we have to trust them, because we do need one voice to tell us what to do next, so to speak. I want to give you sort of case scenarios of things that are sort of getting out of hand. I'm in Canada, and our Prime Minister has just made a speech, and amongst the various issues that he has stated is that he has implemented a ban on all foreigners coming into Canada, except with a few exceptions for example, crew, airline crew, diplomats, and Americans. And I think there are a lot of Canadians wondering, why do Americans get this exception? Well, just off the outset, just think about this for a moment. The government officials have actually discussed this point. They have gotten professional advice, they've gotten facts and figures. Off the top of my head, I can well imagine that sitting in Canada, there are many trucks that drive across the border into Canada, bringing us, amongst other things, food. And those trucks are being driven by American citizens. The reverse applies. Canadians driving into the United States. This is not the time to start putting in barriers between people holding those specific passports. If there's anybody wondering about what about Americans who are wanting to come across here on holiday, tourists, at this time, I think on the balance of probabilities, I'm going to leave it at that. You can really start getting an idea that I'm hoping to get the point across that we just simply need to trust our government officials. We're also seeing issues, for example, the airports being hopelessly overcrowded. If you can imagine, our Prime Minister has made it clear, various governments have made it clear, they want their citizens back home. They're asking the citizens, come fly back home. At the same time, they also have to understand that there's going to be a slowdown in the processing as people have to fill in forms talking about their health issues, etc., etc. The whole processing of these people arriving at our airports is going to be quite a bit of a shit show. But on the balance of things, we have to also understand that how many government officials can we put in place who are trained to process people coming back home, putting it clear to them that they have to quarantine themselves for 14 days, etc., etc., and take down their information, etc., etc. On the balance of things, one can understand that this has to be done, and it's going to create a bit of a shit show. Please understand that it's not quite an ideal situation. Having these crowds are exactly the opposite of what we need, etc., etc. But it's again, it's a balance of what should be done, and I believe in our government officials. I believe that they are actually taking advice. For our friends south of the border, I would like to imagine that President Trump is taking advice, that that at state level they are doing things that are necessary, and at this moment in time, for all the mistakes that are going to be made, that have been made, please, let's just be rational. And I'd like to imagine there's a very significant line between vigilance and hysteria, and that line is being pushed a little bit towards the hysteria side, but vigilance is important. Speak with your parents or grandparents, people who are in the retirement age. Self-quarantine for them, they are the most vulnerable. Self-quarantine for them is very important. Now for me, to give you an idea, I believe that there is a 60 to 70% chance that I'm going to contract this virus. I've accepted that. But on the flip side of the coin, I think there is probably a 7% chance that I am going to be so sick that I need to go into the emergency wards and get some sort of ventilator or something to that effect. And I personally believe that there's probably a 2 to 3% chance of me personally dying from this disease. That's lower probability than me actually being run over by a car crossing a street. So I'd like to imagine that there's an element of reasonableness. We have to be vigilant, but also reasonable and rational. I think in summary, please hold off watching the 24-hour news networks. Just try, here I am busy communicating about this issue and asking you not to watch people like me, I guess. If there are any YouTubers to watch, I'm going to put some links on this to various doctors who speak about this much more rationally, explain the situation much more rationally. The whole issue here is 100% about hospital beds for people who desperately need intensive care services regarding this virus. There are a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes that are not as transparent, and rightfully so. We will most likely, many of us will most likely misinterpret any statements if they were too transparent, so to speak. TV companies definitely will misinterpret. Definitely with them interviewing everybody and their pet dog will start to overanalyze, and we might catch on to certain statements that will not be helpful. Point number 2, my business. I have a business where I supply the restaurant and coffee industry with a specific product. At this moment in time, my end clients are being battered. My heart really goes out to them. Having said that, my business has been in operation for 14 years and I'm on edge. I am really, my situation is such that I buy my products basically at cost, and I don't have a choice there. That's just the way the industry has been set up for time immemorial. I take that stock product, which I then process and package, and then sell on to my distributors, who in turn sell on to restaurants and coffee shops. After 14 years, I've built my business up to something I'm very, very proud of. I really take up a significant market share. In fact, in my category, I am the leader. But having said all of that, I need to grow out of being a small business. I have got many debts that I have to face up to, and I have always run my business on a very, very thin line as I've been trying to grow my business. This is not a good time. I don't think there's ever a good time, to be honest. My product, the fear that I have is if I buy stock of my product and process it and fulfill orders that I've received. I mean, I've got a full order log that goes back about a week to 2 weeks ago. If I fulfill that entire order log, my distributors may face one of two situations. They may already tell me, do not deliver. That means that processed stock is going to sit on my floor. Or they may actually receive it, pass it on to the final client, the restaurants and coffee shops, who themselves are facing very, very very serious, economic difficulties, and may not be able to pay for that stock. If they are not paying my distributors in turn will most likely not pay me. I've accepted this situation. Realizing this, I am very afraid of sinking my money into my stock, and I am currently working very closely with my distributors. I've been working the phones since Friday. Today I'm going to be doing this all throughout the week, next week, this week, and so on. And the point here is that we're trying to work together. It's something that most distributors don't like to do, is have a phone call from me to ask them the details. How are you guys doing? Please keep in mind, whatever you tell me, I'm going to share with other guys, with other distributors, and in turn I'm now going to share the stories of other distributors with you. Nobody generally likes to share the story of how well they're doing at this moment in time, but surprisingly enough, they are actually sharing their stories. They are actually accepting the information I'm telling them and passing on to them, and I'm quite happy with what they're telling me. Now, how this is going to work out is very nerve-wracking. My heart goes out to restaurant owners, coffee shop owners, and of course their staff. This is a tough time for everybody. We're going to try and see what we can do to work through this. I'm hoping you understand that there are bigger impacts. I can't just take out loans when I'm already in debt to see myself through this. I think you get the idea. So this is the most serious emergency in our peacetime, literally since the Second World War, to have the entire world going into this scenario. I'm hoping we're going to look back at this literally in the coming months and think to ourselves, wow, that was a crazy time. I'm literally hoping that'll happen. I, like you, don't know how this is going to work out, but one thing's for sure, I do know that hysteria is just not going to help. Please also, statements like Wuhan, the Wuhan virus or something along those lines, it's just totally unhelpful. There's no benefit to saying that. There's only a downside. To our Chinese friends out there, I'm sure there are many among you that are not very nice people. There are many people over here which are not very nice, but the overwhelming majority of people both here and in China and around the world are very good people. And this is truly, truly not the time to be saying anything that is just not helpful. Guys, please, please hang in there. Speak to your family, friends by phone, and I'm hoping to actually make some more entertaining videos, and hopefully you'll get to see this. Thank you very much.